Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley
and Taylor and our expert, non-expert and special guest James the Science Toolboy.
Hello.
As always, we're wearing togas, our kylixes are full, it's really hot and sweaty, and just outside someone's pressure washing the floor, so if you hear an annoying sound, it's not just Helen, it's the pressure washer.
How rude.
And today we're going to look at the rise of Cambyses, or Cambyses. So, last time we checked in on the Persians, King Cyrus had just died.
Either in the most modest and average way possible.
Or with his head rammed in a bag of blood.
Not great that really,
No.
is it?
No.
Either way, Persia now needs a new king. And handily, in both accounts of Cyrus's death, this had already been dealt with.
Well, he was getting on a little bit, wasn't he? So, yeah, a bit of a smart move.
Yeah, he's thinking about the future rather than just going, I'll be fine.
Right.
What could possibly go wrong? So, yeah, indeed, either way, it seems that from whatever source we look at, Cyrus names his son Cambyses II, or Cambyses II.
So, after Cyrus's dad.
Yeah, after Cyrus's dad, he's like number one son, named after his dad. In both sources, he clearly goes, right son, you're the next king.
This is
Yeah.
the son he sent away earlier.
Yes,
Yeah,
so when
okay.
he's fighting, according to Herodotus, when he's fighting Tomyris, he goes, you better go back, just in case my head ends up in a bag.
He's clearly lining him up, isn't he, to be the next ruler. The
Yeah.
name's quite significant.
And
Yeah.
what,
So.
in the boring version, he was just one of the people gathered around his bed.
Yeah, and he went, it's you.
Okay.
So it seems it's a very smooth transition of power from Cyrus to Cambyses.
No amazing stories of wee typhoons or vines or anything.
No, not with this one. But there's some interesting stories to come, so don't worry.
Okay.
So it may well be because we've got such limited evidence about aspects of Cambyses' rule, so we just don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Herodotus gives us scant detail about anything building up to the rise of Cambyses, which is pretty shoddy given that he spends the entirety of book 2 of his entire work just describing Egypt, wrongly.
What was the point to it?
Not really much of a point. So, yes, so Cambyses is just there, he becomes king. Similarly, the Persian and Near Eastern sources don't give us much of a clue either. I mean, the earliest Persian or any source we have about Cambyses' rule is a Babylonian text, and it simply states,
An 8-year-old red ass, which is not branded, belonging to Nimbinti Bell.
Binti Bell.
Nindinti Bell, it's a great name.
There you go.
I wanted to call my son that, but I wasn't allowed.
Nimbinti Bell Taylor, or Nimbinti Bell
Wow.
Midgley, in your case,
Winner.
that would have been brilliant. So anyway, belonging to Nimbinti Bell, he sold for 50 shekels of silver for the full price to Belasalim,
Yeah, why not?
yeah, and bears responsibility for the ass. Babylonian 12 Elulu, accession year of Cambyses, king of Babylon, king of lands.
So we know all this exciting stuff about his dad, and all we know about him is that he bought a donkey.
Well, he didn't buy the donkey. Some guy in Babylon bought a donkey.
So it's even less interesting that he bought a donkey.
No, but it's what we were saying about Persian sources, the like receipts. So
Oh,
the earliest
yeah.
source we have is this receipt from Nindinti Bell and his red ass.
But it was red. I mean, that's quite exciting.
I mean, if you're going to buy a donkey, it may as well be an unusual colour.
Yeah, why not?
I'm going to assume no, but does this show us that he's quite a mundane rule, or
It's just,
it's just that there is no information?
there's no
about it?
information, just that, hey, look, some guy bought an ass in the first year of Cambyses' rule. So that's all we've got. Not a great story, is it?
Not as good as his dad's. No,
No. It gets better.
it's better. Dave. I'm going to preempt a pattern I've noticed developing here. You two act all smug knowing what's going to come up, but when I'm surprised by stuff, you act like I'm a moron.
Don't know what you mean.
Don't get annoyed just because we're intellectually superior. That's all I'm going to say.
You know what? I'll challenge you to a maths off, then we'll see who's intellectually superior.
God, no.
Numerically, I am inferior.
No, you are right, and we are sorry. So do you want to know what actually happened?
Go on, we're all sat round a microphone, we as well.
Yeah. So like we said, the transition seems quite smooth. Cyrus dies, Cambyses is there. He takes the throne of Persia, is appointed king with all the fanciness, but to ensure there's no rivalry, his brother, a guy called Smerdis,
Or sometimes called Bardia.
What? They're very different names. I was expecting you to say, like, Cambyses,
Smerdis or Smidus.
They're very different names.
They
They
are.
are.
Maybe one was his middle name.
Okay,
I
fair
think
enough.
it's more that different sources give him different names.
Okay, so our brother, let's just say.
The brother.
Yeah.
The brother.
So he's given a role managing the eastern parts of the empire. So
What are the eastern parts of the empire? Because they seem to be progressing west under Darius.
It's bordering towards Darius, isn't he? Yeah.
not
it's
Darius, sorry, it's Cyrus, yeah.
It's kind of the borders of India. It's kind of like you just go over there and look
Right,
after that.
okay.
so he's kind of joint rule, but he's out of the way.
Yeah.
So he's not kind
This
of.
is sounding very
he's not
Anthony-esque.
the kingpin, but
It's more,
still there.
yeah, just go over there and watch that jar of bees.
Right, okay.
That kind of deal.
So one of the first things that Cambyses does is plug a gap that his dad hadn't really paid much attention to. And this particular gap is quite a big and important one. He decides he's going to build a Persian navy.
Just by himself.
No, not really.
No, what he actually does is, rather than getting out his hammer and some nails, he brings in 3 of the main naval powers in the region into the Persian Empire. So particularly Cyprus, Phoenicia and Samos.
How is he bringing them to the empire? Like, fighty fight, or...?
Well, there's not a lot of fighty fight. It seems more like it's a domino effect. Because the Persians dominated so much of that region, these states clearly went, well, it's better to be friends with them than to fight them.
Did Cambyses kind of continue his dad's kind of pattern of being nice to people and bring them into the empire?
Yeah, I mean, well, certainly at the start of his rule, the only thing they've got to work on is what Cyrus did. So the idea of joining the Persian Empire is not that bad.
And also, I suppose if you're going to be probably asked to provide boats and stuff anyway, well, you might as well just give them to them, knowing that you can also use them, instead of actually going to a fight where you're probably going to lose those boats and then lose everything
And
else
all the
as well
people
anyway.
on them.
And the people and everything, yeah. So
I think they're probably thinking as well, if they voluntarily join this mostly land-based empire, they're going to have a degree of autonomy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and be really well protected as well from other threats.
Yeah.
You said it was like a gap in Cyrus's army, not having a navy. Is that just because all his conquests were land-based, or did you just think, if I have a fight at sea, I'll just fight the sea first?
Well, we know what he does with rivers, yeah, why not? Yeah, no, he seems, because his campaigns go west and then east, he clearly wasn't that bothered about boats. Maybe he was a bit seasick.
I mean, again, an area of the world famous for not having a lot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, after building a formidable navy to protect Persia's sea lanes, Cambyses sets his eyes on somewhere a bit drier.
Where's that?
Egypt.
I imagine there's quite a few camels there, so it could go well.
Yeah, there are camels, but there's other reasons as well why he decides that he wants to try and take over this particular area.
Yeah, so first and foremost, Cambyses obviously wants to emulate his dad. If your dad is well known for conquering places and expanding the empire, he's going to want to do the same thing. He's going to want to live up to that mantle. And it's likely as well Cyrus probably had one eye on Egypt anyway. He just decided to invade somewhere else first.
Is it just somewhere to invade, or do it have any tactical or...
Well, there are lots of other benefits of taking Egypt. So the second reason would be that Egypt now posed quite a significant threat to Persian territory of the Levant, that bit just north and east of Egypt, modern day Israel and Syria. And we do know they previously tried to invade that part of the world in 580. And finally, the Egyptian pharaoh Amasis had sided with the Lydians when they went to war with Cyrus. So there's a bit of beef historically.
Okay, these are all worryingly thought out reasons to go and conquer Egypt.
Yeah, sorry.
So Herodotus has got a slightly different version of events.
Of course he does.
Yes, he's not a joker, is he, James? You know by now. So it's a bit rambly. It takes up the first 4 sections of book 3. So we're going to summarise, because although I know that you like listening to my dulcet tones when I'm reading you a story, we thought that might be a bit much. So it begins with a suggestion of a doctor working in Cyrus's court who has a personal grudge against Amasis.
The usual he said, she said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know why this doctor had beef with the pharaoh?
Why not?
But fair enough. Why not?
So anyway, this doctor suggests to Cyrus that he requests that Amasis offers up his daughter in a marriage to his son Cambyses. It's likely that after the defeat of the Lydians, Amasis is probably fearful of Persian power. But even so,
Amasis isn't really very pleased or too keen on the idea of giving his daughter away to get married.
Is this very much just the thing that's done at this time in history, though?
to some extent,
Yeah.
I want you to be my friend, have my child.
Well, yeah, like children, like females in particular, women in particular, are always used as a bargaining chip to try and smooth over either political kind of hostilities between different countries, or even if there isn't a hostility, to kind of make that introduction or form an alliance, or strengthen an alliance between places.
Normally, though, it's kind of mutual, whereas this is more demanding.
Yeah, give me your daughter.
Nice daughter you've got there. Send her over here. So Amasis, he's not best pleased at being demanded of. So Amasis comes up with a cunning plan.
How cunning?
Very cunning, but doesn't. Ultimately, he decides instead to offer the beautiful daughter of another king, who he's previously done in.
Right, I was about to say, that's just very, just like, you can't have my daughter, you can have his though.
Yeah, it's the daughter of another king who he's previously deposed. To Cambyses saying, this is my daughter, honest, dead legit. And her name is Netetis. So the logic is that none of the Persian court really have seen Amasis' daughter, and Netetis is so beautiful anyway, they'll just go, sweet, nice, yeah.
Do they not get a bit confused when she tells them their name?
Well, there's more.
So there's only a kind of teeny tiny problem with the plan, which is that Netetis is no fan of Amasis, as he overthrew and lightly killed her dad.
Seems fair.
You'd think they might want to think about that before this plan, but...
So as soon as she arrives in Persia, she tells the Persians the whole story, and this seems enough to declare war.
She just grasses them up immediately.
Yeah, literally, off the camel. Hi guys, I'm not actually the daughter you're expecting.
Yeah.
Why did they not think this through at all?
I mean, Amasis is being pretty stupid if he thinks that she's just going to go along with this.
Yeah,
After he's probably killed her dad. They'd be like, screw you. Because once she's there as well, she's not really in harm's way from him.
There's nothing he can do to her.
There's nothing that he can do, no, so...
Like, I understand these are great men and they've done fantastic things, but some of these people just deserve to be conquered, and this sounds like one of them.
Yeah. It's also quite similar, isn't it, when we're thinking about, like, people being swapped for other people, if we go right
Cyrus
back
being
to
swapped.
Cyrus being swapped and things like that, and
Only
pretending
they had name badges.
somebody else that, it's a good job they didn't have like Snapchat or something in it, or like photos in that period.
Thought someone may immediately say, I'm not actually that person as soon as they get to somewhere.
Yeah, you know when I said it was a cunning plan?
It's not a
I
cunning.
lied.
So in 425, Cambyses invades Egypt with a multinational force of Persians, Medes, Lydians and Babylonians.
So he's got all his mates together.
And then the boys. So gets the boys together, they go and invade Egypt, but obviously the first major obstacle they have, and why Cyrus probably didn't conquer them in the first place, is actually getting there, particularly crossing the desert and living.
Are they not adept at this? Because
they are, but it's a big desert, and it's a big dry desert. And this had always been a natural defensive barrier for Egypt, so they relied on it quite a lot just to keep people out. They knew people couldn't cross it. So that approach to Egypt is relatively lightly protected. So, on the advice of a chap called Pharnes, Cambyses makes an alliance with an Arab king who can help them get across the desert. Now here we go. Herodotus.
Back to this guy.
Herodotus says, when the Arabian king had made his vow of friendship with the messengers of Cambyses, the method he devised of helping the Egyptian army was to fill camel skins with water, load them onto all his live camels, and so convoy them to the desert. The Arabian king had cowhides and other skins stitched together to form a pipe long, enough to reach from Coris, a large river in Arabia.
Irrigation project in the desert.
It's pretty impressive, though, if that is actually what happened.
Impressive.
It's quite a big feat.
It seems like someone would notice them.
You'd think, but then again, the Babylonians didn't notice Cyrus had invaded their city.
And I suppose if it's a defensive barrier, I mean, how many people are actually in the desert? If it's so good at protecting them, they're probably not going to have anyone there
You only have the one
an
dumb
eye on
guy.
it, are they? So
You have the one dumb guy on guard, and he's nodded off because nothing happened.
Maybe I'm just underestimating how big an effort at building reservoirs is.
Apparently, went unnoticed. Stealth reservoirs.
Well, to be like you say, the Babylonians didn't notice their river being drained, did they? So
Pretty crafty guys, these Persians.
Cambyses seems to be doing pretty well at this. I'm guessing he gets the pharaoh.
no.
Oh.
No. So by the time Cambyses invades, Amasis has died and his inexperienced son has taken over. His son is called Psammetichus.
Or Semenitus.
How? Just for my context, how long did it take them to get there?
It was a year or two.
Oh, okay, it wasn't like
It's not like 20
it's
years.
like 15 years. Oh, he's dead.
No, not quite. But, I mean, so Amasis is dead, and his son Psammetichus, or Semenitus, is on the throne. But this doesn't stop Cambyses, though.
Why would it?
He's started crossing the desert. You've made the effort, may as well follow through. So Cambyses marches his army through the desert to a place called Pelusium, which is a major Egyptian settlement. And the Persian forces face off against the Egyptian forces,
Okay.
ready for battle. But unusually, though, Herodotus again gives us very, very little detail. Herodotus?
So it says that at dawn the fight began, and after a hard struggle and heavy casualties on both sides, the Egyptians were routed.
That it?
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't a very interesting battle. Maybe he was sunbathing.
Maybe. I mean, they didn't leave any food out for him again this time or anything like that.
No, they didn't tempt them with some tasty treats.
This is one of the things you'll find with Herodotus. He'll spend pages describing how the Egyptians pee, but then when it comes to a decisive battle, go, yeah, there was a fight.
He sounds very Tolkien-esque. Tolkien does that. He spends about a chapter describing a tree, and then a battle is about 4 sentences.
Yeah,
Okay.
very simple. So despite his very poor reporting of the battle, what Herodotus does do, just as we were saying, he gives us a really nice description of the bones of the Persians and Egyptian bodies on the ground when he visited.
But
Not how they got there.
No, he details well why there are bones everywhere.
No, I mean, apparently when he visited, you could clearly see the skeletons of the Persians and the skeletons of the Egyptians out on the battlefield. No one bothered to clean up.
Why would you?
Yeah. But you're in luck.
Okay.
There is a different version of events.
Who's this from?
Oh, this is a later source. And he tells us...
So, he says that Cambyses uses his knowledge of cats. So, something called a bastet. Okay? And
basically, he realises the Egyptians see cats as like a semi-religious figure.
Okay.
So he uses cats.
Yeah.
So he just tapes them to his horses.
Well, no, fair off. So he paints them, or he ties them. There you go, James. Right. So he ties them to shields and sends out all the manner of sacred animals in front of his troops. So the Egyptians don't fight and they're beaten. So it clearly works because they're so scared seeing all these cats tied onto shields.
So I'm sorry, these are live cats.
Live cats.
They've just...
Meow! Can you imagine the...
Oh my god!
You thought combat camels were brilliant.
Well, I was expecting...
Can you tie a cat? I mean, I've not got a cat, but Mr. Mitchell, you've
I've
got a
got
cat.
two.
Could you tie your cat onto something? I mean, I don't know how you could do
Not
that
easily.
unless using something like Rohypnol first.
Well, I'm allergic to cats, so it's doubly difficult
Well,
for
you would
me.
run away then. It would work for you, wouldn't it? You'd
And you
be
don't even
scurrying off
worship them
into
as
the hills.
some kind of deity.
So, I was when you started talking, I was expecting something clever like horses hating camels. They just gaffer taped a load of cats to their shields and stuff.
But it worked because they knew the Egyptians didn't want to harm these sacred animals.
Wow.
I mean, it is a bit far-fetched, and it is a much later source.
So, yeah, if this person's more like outrageous than Herodotus, who is this? Who's writing this source?
He's a Roman guy.
Okay.
Called Polyaenus. You can just imagine what James's face looks like right now.
You know what? Between all these Persian stories and 2020 being 2020, nothing surprises me anymore.
Not anymore. Either way, after this crushing defeat, the Egyptians flee to Memphis, away from cats.
So after running away from the cats, what happened when they got to Memphis?
Well, after a brief siege, Cambyses decides that he wants to see what Psammetichus is made of. He's a bit untested, he's only ruled for 6 months, he's quite young, so Cambyses is really going to try and put the wind up him and see how strong his nerve is.
How old is not very old?
He's a late teens maybe. Okay. So Herodotus.
So it says, first he had his daughter dressed like a slave and sent out with a pitcher to fetch water, accompanied by other young girls similarly dressed and chosen from noble families. The girls cried bitterly as they passed the place where their fathers sat watching them, and the fathers, in their turn, all but Psammetichus himself, wept. Psammetichus, however, after a single glance of recognition, bent to the ground in silence. The girls with their pitchers passed on, and then came the king's son, with 2,000 others of the same age, their mouths bridled and a rope round their necks on their way to execution. Psammetichus watched them pass, and knew that his son was going to his death. But though the other Egyptians who were sitting near him continued to weep and to show every sign of distress, he did just what he had done before at the sight of his daughter.
So how did Cambyses get hold of all these daughters and sons and
Presumably
stuff?
when the Egyptian army fled, they forgot to tell Psammetichus' daughter and son and family.
Right, okay.
But it's a bit of a dark turn for Cambyses.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's especially considering how relentlessly nice his dad was to everyone. This is a bit of brutality we've not really discussed.
No,
this
is
I
Persians.
suppose you've got to think, haven't you? It's like with any sources when we think about them. Is it that Cyrus is made to look nicer so that Cambyses look worse? Is it that Cambyses is made to look worse so that Cyrus is made to look better?
Did they just do a big airbrushing on Cyrus? Maybe he was kicking dogs and
maybe
or is it just
biting children,
tying cats to shields.
or is it just that we don't know? And you know, there's a lot of different reasons. It's not necessarily just that one's really good and the other one's really bad.
Just how it's reported.
And our most consistent source seems to be unreliable at best.
Shush, you, shush. Either way, after all of this though, the king has seen his daughter go past and his son go past. The king spots a beggar who he recognises as one of his father's wealthiest advisors, obviously fallen on hard times.
And because he's such a good dad, he's obviously not bothered about his kids. However, the sight of his old advisor sends him into despair and he starts blubbing, apparently. And it is so loud and so obvious, a bit like me, that Cambyses asks to see him to find out what's the dealio. So what's been going on? Why is this kind of Lord Sugar-esque figure now roaming around wearing rags and looking all bedraggled? So Psammetichus tells him that his own plan was too much to bear, but seeing this great man reduced to rags was too much.
But not his son in a collar and his daughter.
We've
That was
already
too
said,
much.
haven't we, that the Persians, if we think about the sources, they do not come across as particularly good parents.
No.
There's no Mother's or Father's Day cards that have been sent to this one. That's all I'm saying.
Either way, so then, yeah, Cambyses does do a bit of a Cyrus, though, after all of that. He takes over Egypt and keeps Psammetichus as an advisor.
Oh, alright. That is very much a Cyrus.
That's straight out of his dad's playbook. So, as we've already alluded to, the big discussion point you need to have at this point is the similarities and differences between Cyrus and Cambyses. There are some obvious similarities.
Yeah. Well, you've got the kind of the thing that we just said, haven't you, about taking someone as an advisor? That's something that's
just
clearly
carbon
similar.
copy.
And then you've also got these kind of quite large-scale plans. So is it Cyrus that built a bridge?
No,
Tried to
he's
build
later.
a bridge? He's later, right?
He attacked a river.
It's the thinking outside the box. It's the bizarre strategy.
Yeah.
How do we cross a desert? Pipeline.
Yeah.
They're both used rather interesting. They've used animals in interesting ways in their battle plans.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They've thought a bit differently.
Yeah.
Battle camels, combat cats.
I mean, I'm
fighting rivers.
pretty sure in no strategy meeting they mean tie cats to their shields and horses.
I think that this would make a really, really good historical kids cartoon. Can you imagine fighting camels and cats? Kids would love it.
Children like cats. It'd be horrifying.
If anyone is listening from the RSPCA, clearly Helen is not serious about this and does not encourage using cats or camels in any form of combat. Isn't that right, Helen?
Yes.
That's the most unconvincing yes I've ever heard.
But there are similarities, but what we start to see as well is this little bit of a difference, that dark side that's come out of him, just taunting Psammetichus by dragging his kids out in front of him to see what happens.
Maybe the fact he's always being compared to his amazing dad, he's slowly turning him from the inside and making him more evil. Maybe that's what it is.
Could possibly be. But there are clear similarities and differences. And there you have it. The rise of Cambyses, or Cambyses II, and his conquest of Egypt. Thank you for listening. We hope it's been useful. Leave us a comment below. And until next time, farewell.
Bye.
Bye.